I wanted to welcome everyone to our second ever Codeable podcast, Built with Art. We have two really amazing guests for this second episode. We have Yoren and Elson with us. So before we get started, did you want to quickly introduce yourselves and kind of give everyone a bit of background? We could start with Elson.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for the invite for this podcast. I have been in Codeable since November 2016, so about 9 years or going to 9 years. I started out as building custom teams and implementing custom websites. These days, I'm mostly a project manager on larger projects. And I am based in Madeira Island in Portugal.
All right, great. And do you want to do a bit of a intro as well, Yoren?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Yoren Chen. I joined Codeable since May 2017. In the past 8 years, I've been building Gravity Forms product full time. I consider myself very passionate about product building, so I'd love to share my thoughts with you all today.
All right, great. So just to explain to everyone how the format will work, it might look a bit different if you watch the first podcast. We had three guests, but I think we will trim it down to two guests so we could focus more on the open discussion that we want to have. So each of the Codeable experts has sort of brought something they want to talk about. So I thought we would start with a very interesting topic that is kind of pretty much all over the web these days, and how AI has affected your work process. So yeah, did you want to start the discussion off, Elson?
So yeah, AI is all the buzz, and people say it will take over the world. It may or may not. The way I use AI is mostly a surface level and per case basis, which is I use it as an assistant on a case by case basis. I don't trust it that much in terms of doing high level code stuff. It's mostly the first thing I noticed about switching to AI is how much it reduced the amount of Googling I did and the amount of requests from AI tools. So anything I would Google, now I just ask ChatGPT. And so that's like the first major change that I noticed. The second major change that I've noticed is that it's a strategic help, right? So even for this podcast, I asked AI to help me build my notes, right? Because I wanted to cover a bunch of topics. And when I was building, I was like, let's put this in a real fashion, bring stuff from my brain. And I'll just ask ChatGPT in the end to review it and add some stuff that I missed. But it'll probably just be a thing or two, right? Just a thing or two. Yeah, of course, it rebuilt half of it because humans as we are, we tend to just focus on some stuff and ignore a few other stuff as in a tunnel vision. But yeah, it now becomes a strategic help in terms of planning, identifying requirements, understanding markets, understanding needs, and then you'll basically trim it up to the essentials, and you use that in terms of your advantage to get project success.
I feel like I mostly agree with you what you just brought up. However, I recently tried out this cursor composer, right? Like it's kind of super hype recently, and it kind of amazed me on writing. I consider high level code. It not because I feel like threatening by its like ability to really write something, but it's like I finally find a better workflow to integrate when you are coding, because I think prior to using Cursor Composer, it's kind of difficult to really ask ChatGPT the whole picture in about your code base. I think they usually just see a very certain thing you ask, but if it's related to a bigger picture, for example, because I code things based on Gravity Forms, right? I create Gravity Forms add-ons. So a lot of things is actually the logic is lies in Gravity Forms itself, but not the add-on I'm working on. So prior to using Cursor Composer, I feel like sometimes it's really annoying to really, for example, like try to debugging or something. But now with this kind of tool, I think it's smart enough to realize there are certain things they should look elsewhere. Especially if you kind of like let them know you should look at certain places. They actually come up with very solid explanation about why this thing work or not, or how it should work. And most powerful, of course, now you can basically just change your code for you. So I think this is a kind of like pretty refreshing because I actually tried that because I'm going to prepare for this podcast, you know. So
Hmm.
it's a really amazing experience, and I kind of like it. I don't think, you know, like we should, as developers, as engineers, you should be worried about job being still stolen or something. Not at all. I think it's just basically you have to see it as your how do you say, like collaborator, right? Like
Hmm.
you just collaborate with some peer programmer at the end of the other side of the internet, things like that. Yeah, if you use that kind of perspective, you will actually enjoy much more when using it.
Yeah, look, I totally agree, and I think you actually brought up a great point. How it's improved, like it is almost scary how fast it is improving. Like I agree. I had the same experience with you, where at the start it definitely wouldn't take the whole project into perspective. It would just look at the which is normal. It would just look at the code you've supplied, and it wouldn't think out the box or kind of like. But now it is a really smart learning tool. Obviously, the more mistakes it makes, it improves from these mistakes. But yeah, I'm interested to see what sort of tools you use, Elson.
So it shifted, right? So in the beginning, when in terms of tools to use with AI, people talk about GitHub Copilot, right? You
Yes.
because you were an IDE, and then you provided context and you get some feedback and you iterate. These days, ChatGPT is like the Swiss knife, right? You
It
just
is.
use it for everything. You have it open. You had a piece of code snippet to evaluate. Do it. If you want like some advisory in some kind of aspect, you use it as well. I think the tool that will ultimately win is the most versatile. I mean, you have niche tools like the Cursor Composer may win the IDE space, but
Hmm.
ChatGPT will win the global AI space because first, it's the most used, so it has most data, collects more feedback data, improves faster, right? And second, remember the framework wars, like front-end frameworks. Remember Bootstrap versus Foundation a couple of years ago?
Yes, absolutely.
We all love Foundation, but who won? Bootstrap, because larger user base could do code fixes more quickly. It was not the most aesthetic, in my opinion, but it won. It won the market, and it
Yes.
stayed. So these days, Tailwind ended up winning, I believe, because people stopped using broadcast to its extent. But again, it beats the point, right? So for a specific time, it will win, and that is the time that it's relevant for people. So I think ChatGPT is the most versatile tool. And again, the what differentiates outcome from it is how you use it in terms of the prompts you do, the context you provide. There's a positive side effect from all of this. I became a better project manager because I now have to explain everything to a chat GPT, and it's probably better than I would explain a human. So
Absolutely.
this means that my project briefs get more detailed. This means that my emails get more detailed by design because I always try to be okay. If I want some outcome out of this, I need to provide a logic base and some background to it so that it can return what I want. And that ultimately resulted in better communication with the team. I think that there was a major shift for me as well. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I totally agree. So I have this very recent example that I have a very long conversation with a client in email. Like she listed several questions to ask me, and I answer like each point back to her, and then it became a very long email. And I have to turn this email into a GitHub issue because we need to create an issue. Then we create a corresponding PRs to address the issue, right? So I basically pass the email to ChatGPT and ask it to sum up everything and create an issue in Markdown for me, so I can copy and paste into GitHub. Yeah, things like that. And of course, the result is like just maybe 1 minute. Like it's so solid. Like it covers everything, nothing missed, and yeah. So I'm really happy the result. Like because of course I like this client. I love to having these very constructive conversations, but I also wish to have more free time to do more lecture things I love, right? So with tools like this, I feel like eventually it will definitely integrate it into our email clients,
Mm-hmm.
that you just sum up everything in that email client. I think it would be like really, really amazing in terms of productivity, right? Like we just want to do things more efficient in a way that save both time, save time for both of us, and we actually deliver like better results. Because I feel like earlier version of this kind of tool, usually because they don't really catch the real points. They tend to kind of like elaborate things like in a longer length articles or something, but it didn't really touch the part you want to really extract from the whole context. Yeah, but I think right now they do better jobs, and it saves us time. And also, I feel like when you have more luxury, you have more time, you can actually be more creative on other stuff. Yeah. So from this perspective, I really feel like our life will be much easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it really brings up a great point about being integrated into email, and I guess that kind of leads me into kind of the last part of the discussion. And I guess you've already said your part about the being integrated in the next, let's say, 5 years. Where do you see all of these tools we've discussed, and how much will they improve, and how much will they sort of be integrated into other stuff that we use?
So I think the main topic of this year is AI workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you would define a subset of tasks. It would just basically outline a sequence of tasks and feedback until it achieves the desired outcome. I've seen a video this morning of some feature that was released in the US in terms of ChatGPT. Some person just asked it to go to Facebook Marketplace, search for a specific product, compare its price to the eBay listings around, and if it was significantly cheaper, like if it found us a very cheaper alternative, negotiate directly with the seller on Facebook Marketplace, and then take this, negotiate sending it via email, via mail to an address. If the guy agreed, it would create a listing with the same pictures on eBay, would check the listing, check for the pictures, negotiate a price, and then if the guy agreed to the terms, it would create an entry on eBay, right? That entry basically get the money from one, pay the other, and it would just ship it directly. So that's the new level of drop shipping. Take in
Yes.
consideration, these are
Yeah.
French casers. This works in like
Yeah.
specific subset of products
Mm-hmm.
for a specific subset of time. And the good thing is he was doing it and he was seeing the worker taking screenshots and doing things. So I think that's the biggest trend in terms of what I see improving. I also wanted to touch on like the tools that are focused on WordPress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of AI integration with WordPress, the first things that popped up were the chatbots, right? You had
Mm-hmm.
chatbots that basically allowed you to reply to some stuff around that person or client provided in terms of that website provided in terms of knowledge. Uh, then companies started and did something that I don't agree with, like let's reduce costs on support, right?
Yes.
So first you go to a chatbot. And so if you have a bug that you know it's a bug and you want to report it to a human, you don't want to spend 5 minutes talking to an AI chatbot. That burns you. And I'm totally against that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had recently a case where I reported a bug and the AI told me, okay, so you want to talk to a human, I will pass it on, and then the human will take over the conversation. I was waiting in the chat for the chat to be taken over by a human, and they followed up by email ticket. You know, that led to some frustration because I only saw it like a couple of hours later. So that meant the issue drafted the next day. That means that I was not happy with the support the company provided because it basically was slower, worse than before, and a human still intervened. So I think they need to improve it. Okay. The second integration that came to WordPress was mostly content generation, right? So you want to generate like a featured image or an image for your library, or even write the post for itself.
Yes,
I mean,
I've seen this a lot these days.
There were a lot of projects that built like massive 10,000 page website with AI generated content. I think most of them failed because at the end of the day, Google is not that dumb, and it understood that there was content, but there was not a lot of original value, right? So now what we're seeing is that clearly didn't work as a business. So companies just didn't create farms of websites with AI generated content and became millionaires. So now AI is mostly into, okay, so you want a website for like a car garage. You can type in your description, it will generate some imagery and some structure and build like a 3-page website for you. It kind of works. There's some services. Divi AI has one. Elementary AI has one. They are slowly improving. Again, bottom line is, at the end of the day, you always need an expert to trim it, to tweak it, to make it to the final condition, to understand if it serves the user's purposes or not. It's not just, you're not building a website because otherwise you could just go to Wix, next place.
Yes,
images,
exactly.
content, doors open, right? You can be like in that regard that if you have a business in a city, that leads you to more clients. But if you actually are serious about your business, you want an architect in charge in terms of defining a strategy, structure, and building systems that serve your users instead of just hindering them.
The next topic I wanted to talk about was the difference between building website projects and building and doing digital product projects. So did you want to explain this a little bit more?
So I propose to discuss a little bit about this. So I just my personal experience was like when I started to be a web developer, I started to build websites for just $100 for my relatives, my friends, my neighbors, things like that. So I started by building small websites and to a little bigger one, medium one, things like that. But gradually, I think it's about after almost a decade when I started to build websites, I gradually switched to a different area, which focus on building WordPress plugins. So I started by building very simple feature plugins at WordPress.org. They are just very small, focus on very specific feature to improve a little bit in the UI in your WordPress dashboard. And then I have these opportunities to work with a client to build her first own very till now is the only WordPress product she has, which is Client Portal. This is the first premium WordPress product I've built. And then gradually, I also have the chance to work with graphic forms. I've worked with the core team, the add-on team, and now this certified developer team. So I really feel like the scope to build these two different kind of projects is totally different. And of course, personally, I feel like I love product building more. I know like in a certain way we can consider website is also a digital product, of course. Yeah, especially if it's a SaaS product, right? But in the context I want to discuss is more like a regular website you build for a client's brand or their company website, things like that. So I think the very significant difference for me personally is the scope for digital products. For example, like the WordPress plugin, it's more clear defined so I can be more focused on a certain engineering practice. For example, if I write unit tests, I write it for a WordPress plugin. It's much easier than if I write it for a WordPress website. Yeah, so I think that's the very basic idea. And also from the sales perspective, you sell a WordPress plugin, it's probably maybe if it's a little more expensive, it would be like $500 a year, right? But if you try to sell a WordPress website project, it's much more expensive than that. The difference is that if you are like me, you like smaller chunk of cash and flow into your account, then I feel like WordPress plugin probably is the area you want to work on because that's the business model of it. But I feel like it's a little difficult if I just build a $500 website repeatedly. Maybe you can. I that's not my specialty, so I don't know. But it's just in the sense of the sales perspective and cash flow. I feel like WordPress products like a plugin probably works better for me.
So yeah, interesting. I actually looked you up because we didn't know each other before, like before of this
Yeah.
call, and I saw your project, which I was like, this is a great idea. I wanted to,
Oh.
I wish I would have think of this, but it's my opinions regarding product is you walk on you have a long-term vision versus a lot of short-term visions, right? If you're building websites for clients, it's basically they are like maximum usually 6 months of a year, and then you have completed, get your money, you get paid well, hopefully, then move on to next project and then keep cash flowing going. There's a lot of sets of challenges and benefits with each approach. Um, I haven't been in products because I never done them. It's mostly like if you never done it before, you don't know the systems because with products, you need something very important called distribution, right? If you don't have an avenue to get to your possible clients and sell your product until it gets that snowball effect, if you have like 1,000 sales or 1,000 products, then they talk about product, which and then you can boost with ads. Then you have a brand that's competing in the market where you can sell more licenses or subscriptions or whatnot. I do think it's amazing. I also think it's like with any kind of other business industry, it will be disrupted at one point. So it has like its ups and downs, and it will reach a peak of like the point where it makes more money. Then you have to either pivot your product or service or get a new one and adapt to the market. I also feel like it's if you have like 10 products or 3 products, you can distribute the risk. If you just have one product, you have more risk because if clients stop liking a product, then you don't really have a lot of stuff to offer. You can build like a product on the fly to just keep those clients, but product being a product is not easy, right? If you have a good product, that means it was hard to build. It means it has a lot of features. It has a lot of QA. It has a lot of testing, and it adapts to users so that it suffices their needs. If you're building something on the fly to new users, chances are it may take a while. Those are my initial thoughts on products.
Do you think everyone is going to be moving into the subscription style of kind of buying things?
Yeah. So I actually have this firsthand experience that clients who offer a lifetime license wanted to switch to subscription model. Oh, while people who use subscription model wants to create lifetime license too.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think it's actually not that different, I would say, because a lifetime license is usually if you do the calculation, they usually charge you probably like 3 years
Yes.
and a little more of that yearly renew the price. So how they calculate it is actually based on the lifetime value of their current customers. So if they anticipate, if you are with me, you will be with me for roughly just 3 years and a little more, then how about I just create that license and trick you to feel like you got some advantages from the deal, but it's actually not, because that's the longest that you will be with me. Yeah. So yeah, so I actually feel like probably it will be a trend that people are going to offer both.
Yes.
Like, yeah, yes, they will probably start with either like lifetime or either with subscription model only, but in a while they will roll out probably both license model for their customer to choose the way they want. I think Cosmic Giant, my company, the company employ me right now, so we actually release our product. We used to only have this product on a subscription model. Yeah, but recently, because we realized, so yeah, if you actually calculate the lifetime value, you can actually create a lifetime license for this specific product, and thus uh, we so I want to clarify, it's not like we offer lifetime license for every product we have, but just that specific product, because like this product has this I think because its functionality is using for backup your Gravity Forms entries. Yeah, so because of how our clients use it, they tend to be with us much longer than using our other products. Yeah, so we figure maybe that's the very great chance for us to create this lifetime license for them on a specific. I don't think it's like always there. Probably just for we do some sales events or something. I'm not really sure, but that's one of the example. Like for people who run plugin business, we realize that people would actually love lifetime deals uh,
Hmm.
as long as it has that kind of value. We can convince our customer to do that, and that will give us a little boost in our cash flow. And it's not like we try to like deceive them or something, but it's like we believe if you will be with us like more than 3 years, then you would definitely want to get this deal for yourself, and it's kind of like mutual beneficial.
And the last thing I wanted to bring up about this whole selling digital products is the security aspect. Obviously, it isn't like buying something on Amazon and it comes shipped to you and it's a physical product. You have this like a plugin. What kind of security measures for now and in the future do you think would help this to be more secure, that you know that when you sell that digital product, it's not going to be used elsewhere?
I think it wouldn't be that difficult if you want to limit the usage of your user. For example, I think in EDD, when you create your digital product, you can limit the domain.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you sell them with for example, like 3 domain license,
Mm-hmm.
they can only register the product on 3 domains. So once they reach the limits, then they cannot. I think we implemented like when I was in Rocket Genius to work for on Gravity Forms website. I think we also have this kind of because you count the license, uh, a certain license. Once they reach the, for example, like the up limit is like 1 or 3 or 5, things like that, then they will be limited to add the product and use it on more website. But of course, the idea is that it used to be like people can still install the product
Yes.
even if they reach the limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they cannot get the updates. They have to manually install the updates every time if their website is not in the like the under the threshold.
Do you think this is enough? It would be really cool if you couldn't even use the plugin. Like it wouldn't even activate unless it's licensed.
I think right now, the latest version of Graphiforms, they've already implemented such a, if you don't have a valid license, you cannot use it at all. The implementation probably back to maybe 2.6 or some, at a certain point, they just added. Yeah, so I think it's great. Like, uh, I don't against, like if people just want to try out our product for sure. But for example, like the one of the product we have at Cosmic Giant, we have this fillable PDF product because the mechanism we use, for example, when they generate their own PDF, they have to call our server. So basically, if you don't have a valid license, you cannot connect with our server, so you cannot generate the PDF. Yeah, so that's sort of because, like we use a certain API or third-party services, things like that. So we can implement this kind of measure to ensure the stability of our service while the people cannot kind of like take advantages from us.
So it's interesting. I have 2 lifetime licenses that I purchased. One was ACF that I think I got a great deal of because I use it a
Absolutely.
lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one was Divi that I use in like 2 websites lifetime license. So Divi got one on that one. So there's like positive for each side of the coin here wins in one of the 2 cases. I do believe like having a license that is active and paid means that you are serious about your product, means you are serious about your project and you take things well. I do think like, for example, some licenses are extremely expensive, but the price usually is directly related to the complexity of your product. So that means it's very expensive to maintain and to update some WooCommerce extensions, for example.
Yes,
And people
expensive.
should do their research before they purchase, as in to understand if they are using the correct subset of plugins. This is another point that benefits us developers because we know clients hiring an expert, they will eventually save more money in the long term. That's the thing they usually forget. If the goal is to actually keep running costs low, we can search for the best option so that we have that in mind when building the project from the start. Instead of rebuilding it midway, always becomes more expensive. It's like what they say. It's the cheapest initial thing is usually the most expensive long term if you
Absolutely.
grow, right? So it all comes down to scale and to prepare things beforehand.
So I want to echo this, kind of like circle back to the AI thing we just talked, right? So for example, like ChatGPT, they also have free version for sure.
Yes,
Like
they do.
you can use it for free. However, I always say it's the best $20 I ever spent in a month. Like when I'm on a pro version, I can use their latest model. When they haven't rolled out this, now you can use voice, right? Like they haven't rolled out this feature on the free plan. I can already use it. I because I live alone, I talk to ChatGPT like in the voice mode a lot to get some, like human-like interaction. It's funny, but I tend to feel like because AI is neutral, they don't really have their own emotions, so they actually are a very good listener. They can do very good hand holding with you. Like when you feel like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I need someone to talk to. I need to have a very difficult conversation with your family or, like that kind of things. You can always talk to them. Like, and you don't have to worry, like they'll judge you, like, why you think that way or something. They wouldn't. They will kind of like very they seem to have a very great empathy on any kind of problem you have. They will calm you down. They will tell you like you can step back or something. Like I always feel like I get so many solid advice from and a little therapy session, I would call it, from the pro version of ChatGPT. Yeah, so I always feel like, especially we are in very similar business, so I always encourage my fellow developers, if you can, yeah,
Yes.
just spend a few dollars on this kind of service or the plugin you love. Yeah, it worth the money and it keeps the whole industry more healthy.
It was really great to have you both on. You really had some great opinions, and yeah, really thanks for sharing all of your great knowledge.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so this was the second episode. Exciting. So if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe, and there'll be an episode next month as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and again, thank you both for being on and sharing your great information.